about that, and where do you see the future of science writing? And I think we're addressing that in the conference, but one of the things that I don't see addressed is the business model behind it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, obviously the shrinking of everything about the mass media, general interest science, closing of foreign bureaus of newspapers, closing of newspapers. This is a very difficult time. We're going through a kind of radical transition, and it's painful, and it's going to continue to be painful. I don't think we're shrinking the amount of information that's available to people. I think we're actually increasing it. But what we need to do is increase it in a way that helps people. And we're still not there yet, because it's also fractured. There are millions of science blogs. Some of them are fantastic, many. Some are ridiculous. That's true of newspapers and magazines too. It's sometimes easier to see, the New York Times is curated by a bunch of people. It's edited. And you can see that, and you can say, gee, this is well edited. You form an opinion. You like it, you don't like it in general. You like some. When it comes to certain blogs, it's difficult to know. And as it is on the internet in general, and I think that's a problem. The financial aspects of it is a greater problem, because I'm very privileged. I work for a magazine that lets me wander around for a pretty long time and do complex stories. You can't do those things without resources. I mean, just going across the world and staying in hotels and stuff, it costs money. And it also costs money to take the time. They pay me while I'm doing that, and they also pay other people, editors, fact checkers. So it's a remarkable thing that I have, and I know very few people have it. But I do think that we need to, and we're starting to come up. I look at NPR, it's a wonderful, wonderful broadcast network. And I think they have a model of donor contributions and sponsorships that works for them. And I think to some degree that could work for other types of media too. I don't have magic answers. I don't think anyone does, or we'd all be much calmer about this. But I do think we'll find some answers, because fundamentally we need this information, and we want this information. And that means it's valuable, and we have to find a way to, as they say in the geek world, monetize it. And we will. But it's not easy.
Do you see any new, you also cover technology, do you see any new technologies that kind of show contours of how we might do what Google is doing with advertising?
Well, I mean, I think this tablet thing, without getting into the huge hype of it, whether it be an Apple tablet or any other tablet, I think that has a lot of promise. Because if we're in a world where we can get our information conveniently, and it's information that's in rich media, and it can move around on your screen, and it can be pictures and videos and sound, that is actually going to encourage advertising. I mean, one of the reasons advertisements have gone away from newspapers and magazines is they're not effective there anymore. They're effective on the internet. And to the degree that we can capture readers, which I believe we can with interesting stories, in a medium that people will respond to, I think that will help advertising. I think that's very promising. There's hurdles. We don't know how good the technology will be. We don't know how much it's going to cost normal people. The internet has to work pretty rapidly most places, and in lots of places it does now, but we're still far from, universality there. So, but yeah, I see that the direction we're moving in, and it's I used to cover the war in Chechnya. It was 15 years ago. It wasn't even 15 years ago. And what I would have to do to file a story would be to get a kindly tank commander to let me use his battery so that I could hook up my satellite phone, so that I could find a satellite in the sky, so that I could dictate the story to Moscow, so that they could send it to New York. And when they sent a picture, they would go to the Reuters office, and we had sort of a $5,000 or $10,000 a month budget for sending pictures from Moscow to New York. By the time I left Moscow, our budget for pictures was $0 because we were emailing everything. And now people just report, you can tweet out stories from war zones. I often wonder what would have, this is macabre, but if 9/11 had happened a few years later, people would have been tweeting that, and it would have been even more horrible than it was, and more moving than it was, if that's even possible. But the world has changed in that way. And, so it's changing kind of rapidly.
But your overall outlook is positive.
Yeah, it's positive because people want information. There are more and more people who I think are capable of writing well about science than certainly when I started, and people care about it much more than when I started. And that has to translate into broader communication, more people understanding what's going on in their lives. It's you know, we have a lot of work to do to get there. It's a hurdle, but I absolutely believe we can jump the hurdle. This conference are hundreds of people dedicated to this. They're smart people. And that just never would have happened. When I started, there would have been 3 people here, you know, 6.
But the challenge is to get it beyond this 300 people and out to the jokey publics.
Well, that is a challenge, but I mean, we didn't have the few hundred people in the past. So now we do. We have more than a few hundred. We have a few thousand. And now we have to make it pay so that people can make a living doing that. And some people are. It's hard. But I think we're moving in the direction. And I think things like tablets do show promise for what people often call traditional media, to make a change into a newer form, and also, you know, where we can meet, where the old media can meet the new media in a nice form. I mean, I think that'll happen, whether it'll happen with this new tablet or 3 tablets from now, or, you know, we're moving really rapidly, and, you know, 2 years from now, things are going to look far more sophisticated than they even do now. So I don't know how you can not be positive about that.
Okay. Thank you for the interview. Enjoy the conference.
Thank you. Thanks.